nothing gets solved. A warning there for Tea Parties here in the GOP ahead of the midterm elections. Don't count your proverbial chickens. Jonathan Hoenig, Cody Willard, Maegan Carberry, here in the flesh. Bob Beckel, also here in the flesh. Babalu, what do you make of this?
Well, I mean, there's some warnings here. Look, if you look at similar situation in Florida, maybe Charlie Crist decides to run as an independent because Rubio, who's the Tea Party endorsed candidate, may win the Republican nomination, so you have it there. And there's also the question of getting certain candidates like Paul in Kentucky, who is way off the mainstream, who's the son of Ron Paul, who will probably get the Republican nomination because of the Tea Party banner and probably won't win the general election. So it's a little different in the sense that it's forcing people over to a more extreme position, but nonetheless it's impacting, and I think impacting potentially negative for the Republicans.
You know, Jonathan, I've been focusing on the British election very, very closely, perhaps too closely, owing to the fact that I don't have much of a life. Nevertheless, I always like to think that the British could be leading us. Not only the preview of coming attractions for bank fees and slapping bonuses and the rest, but politically as well. And I think conservatives thought they had this thing won easily. And whether it's Clegg or some of these other issues, it ain't a slam dunk. And I'm wondering whether that is a message to Republicans here, whether it's the influence of a third party or their own declining popularity. What is it?
Well, Neil, there's no doubt that the Tea Party movement here in America, despite the fact it's been maligned now for the better part of over a year, really is the hottest political force in the nation right now. I think it's why you're seeing so many different groups, whether it be from Rand Paul, as Bob mentioned, or even the religious right. Everyone's trying to basically get on the Tea Party bandwagon and adopt their principles of liberty.
What are you saying, Maegan?
But hot to who? It's hard for me to know if this is a media phenomenon or not. I know there's a lot of people out there participating in it, but I feel like it's more of a short-term solution.
Well,
in a lot of ways.
Well, I've covered these events, just as events.
Right.
You guys were saying that a year ago.
So
when do you kind of do the Howard Kurtz thing and the Barbara Boxer thing and start saying, there's something to this?
I do think there's something to it. I'm just not sure how much longevity it has. I do think there's something to it.
It's been better than a year of rage.
It's better. It's obviously building momentum. I don't know that it's going to solve the Republican Party problems. The people who elected Barack Obama in 2008 were young people, people of color. The demographics in this nation are changing significantly and will be very different in 2012, 2014, 2016. How is the Republican Party appealing to that base?
But does it divide, Cody Willard, the vote? Is that, to Bob's original point and question I had for him, does it divide the vote?
Neil, I've got a whole crowd behind me, and I missed the last part of your question, but I got a question.
We said we don't like you.
I knew that much, but that's no news flash. Fox Business news flash. No, listen, you know, I question the premise. Are you somehow saying that Republicans are conservative? Because I'm pretty sure that Republicans bailed out Wall Street. That wasn't conservative. I'm pretty sure that, I don't know, Scott Brown from Massachusetts voted for the new stimulus jobs package. That's not conservative. Who cares if Republicans gets quote-unquote split? Rand Paul might be the actual real conservative vote. If you want to call him fringe, fine. But that's a real conservative.
All right. Well, Bob, to that point, if he does, I'm just saying if Republicans are divided, whether you buy the fact they're conservative or not, then doesn't that allow, much as what appears to be the case in Britain right now, the guy who's getting maligned to just sort of walk in?
Well, what Jonathan made a point about, this is the hottest product in politics. It's true, but the issues are not new or hot. I mean, they're hot, but they're not new. They're not owned by the Tea Party. They were smart. They jumped on them. They got on that wave. But this wave has been building for a long time. I never saw in all the polling I've done over the years the deficit last as an issue more than 6 months. I'm now into my third year of it being an issue. And so that is a significant issue out there. It's not a Tea Party issue. It's far broader than that. The question is, though, in the dynamics of the election, does the Tea Party movement move Republicans farther off of mainstream than they want to be?
Well, you know, Jonathan, when I was in Atlanta covering these guys, the one thing I asked to a man and woman there, many of them enraged at both Republicans and Democrats, who's your candidate? You need a name. You need a front for this. Ross Perot was a viable third-party candidate until he got a little nutty in 1992. George Wallace, a very credible candidate in 1968. Many, Bob, I don't know if you agree or disagree, hurt Hubert Humphrey.
Oh, absolutely.
So I'm just saying, well, I don't know. That's a good point, Cody.
The Tea Party's not about the president. The Tea Party is about Congress and the Senate.
I know, you're very valid point. But Jonathan, I'm asking you, without a national candidate to be the face of that rebellious, rowdy movement, are they just going nowhere fast?
Neil, I disagree. I think they're having massive cultural change. It's more difficult to have political change, ironically, largely because some of the obstructions put in place by, let's say, McCain-Feingold. All the reasons that makes it so difficult to launch a viable third party. But there's no question they're having massive cultural change in this country. And frankly, I don't think they care that there's not a party. This is a party. The Tea Party is a party about principle, not about political party.
Well,
I think that's why they're having a massive philosophical change.
I'm not sure I buy into the notion that they're getting so principled now. They're beginning to remind me of the Pope. Look, the fact of the matter is, that Cody, they do have an impact on the presidential election because Republicans are now, because they don't have a leader in the Tea Party, they are sort of moving towards this amorphous idea of a Tea Party, and so they're moving to a position, I think, outside of the mainstream America.
As a young person in America, these are not the Republicans I'm watching. I'm watching rebuildtheparty.com, thenextright.com. Those are who I care about.
I keep my distance from Bob because he just dissed the Pope. All right,
I didn't know
it's going to get ugly. I wish we had more time, guys. Unfortunately, after your papal comment, it's not going to go in.
I stand by my position.
Yeah, well, so does the Vatican. That's on line one. Anyway, Goldman used to be the gold standard, right? I want you to meet the guy with some tips